Okay, let me just first check some. Okay, I'm able to see my PPT. Okay, hello folks out there. Am I audible? Please type in the chat box if I'm audible. I think I'm not audible. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. I'm audible. Okay. So, a very warm welcome to the Nexture Summit 2021. Today, I'm Manav Bansal. I'm here to present my presentation on the topic Hackathons, Open Source, and Communities. Now, first of all, I would like to give some introduction of myself. I'm pursuing my Masters of Computer Applications from Jagan Institute of Management Studies. Talking about my achievements, I am currently participated in a couple of hackathons since 2019, and recently I have been selected as a top ambassador with two of the hackathons, namely Hack the Mountains 2.0 and Hackon 2.0. Moreover, I have been in recent participation, I have been selected as a best use of Linode project in Hackon 2.0. So, a short introduction and a crisp introduction about myself is this. Moreover, as we will proceed in this talk today, if any question that is being arise in your mind at any point, just type in the chat box. Okay, so let us proceed. Now, what are hackathons? I must be very much sure that a lot of folks out here must be thinking the hackathons would be like hacking someone's accounts or some websites like that. But it is not like that. According to Wikipedia, a hackathon is a design sprint like event, often in which computer programmers and others are involved in software developments. This is a technical definition. In layman language, if I want to say, an hackathon is like presenting your ideas, ideating your ideas, and presenting them, coding them into a professional environment. This is like a basic layman definition of a hackathon, if I would like to say. Now, I have prepared some pointers also, so let me mention in that. So, a question now comes: why hackathons are important? Now, to test knowledge, to check our knowledge, like in our college curriculums, we only study the languages and prepare some mini projects. But if we want to test our knowledge in the real life environments, then hackathons are important. Make new connections. Like here also, you are part of Nexture community. To make new connections, to interact with other folks out there in other communities, hackathons are important. Learn new technologies, like in curriculums of your college or anywhere else. You would be bounded towards specific. I will mention later on. Just be patient. Like what were my projects in the hackathon? Let me come towards the Q&A. I will be addressing all the questions. Now, I was saying learning new technologies. In our college curriculums, we always teach specific language like HTML, CSS, C, C++, and all that stuff. But if you want to learn new, like some APIs or some frameworks, then these hackathons play a very big role, because in these environments only we are learning about the new technologies. Building entrepreneurship skills. Now you are making your project on your own. You are producing a project. If it would be of a good level or a great level, you may get funding also and can build entrepreneurship skills. Next, build your CV. Now if you are seeking for a job, you can build your CVs by showcasing these projects. So these are some why should you should participate in a hackathon. Some pros, like I mentioned earlier, also testing your knowledge in real life. You can test your knowledge that you have acquired in your college curriculum or your other places also. Making new connections, like you are here in different communities. Learning new tech stacks, I also mentioned this thing, like if you want to learn new technologies. Now, what is like cons of hackathon? Like we always know that there are two sides of a coin. So hackathons also has two sides. Cons of a hackathon, maybe like sometimes they will be tiring. You are continuously coding your ideas, and the bug that in a hackathon that is not being solved, it sometimes gets frustrating. Loss of focus. Sometimes it gives you distractions in case of hackathons. The focus is like for instance, if I say in a recent hackathon, I was like programming my project, and at some like moments there was distractions, like my a call came, or I want like to like take a rest and watch movies. So sometimes focus also loses. Loss of social life. If once the hackathons are like in your genes, like you are addicted to it, so your social life like gets lost, because every weekend we have hackathons being lined up virtually. So it's all that your social life can also be in danger. Now, towards the company side, what is the pros of hackathon? Innovations. Innovations, you can like, if a problem statement company gives to you, the innovative ideas that you present to the companies, that is the biggest pro of the company. Now, community creations, every like big company like Microsoft and Google and many other companies, they have their communities, so that the programmers or the emerging developers, they find bugs, they interact with them and give new suggestions, new ideas to them. Now there are like branding and corporate building, branding, like branding stuff. You must be seeing that in hackathons there are a lot of sponsors. Here also there are sponsors, so it like gives them a place to market their brand. Then it's their recruitment. You would not believe, A grade companies, they come in hackathons and they sometimes recruit the emerging like developers or emerging students by their skills. Because in today's time, skills matter rather than their degrees. If you have good skills, you may be hired by just giving an interview. So in hackathons, make sure that if companies are there, branding them, like marketing them, just go in a hackathon and create a great project. You may be hired also in that company. Now, I just believe that you would be like coming here all for swags. Swags is like a very big motivation for the hacker, like students like us. These are some of my goodies that I have got in my previous hackathons. There are many more to come in by post. At every hackathon, you get a lot of swags, lot of goodies. So this is like a very big motivation for you. I believe that there must be like no minus point in this. Now the next thing is the coding competitions and competitive codings. Competitive coding, you can say that it is a mild sport that that usually held over an internet or a local network in a room or particular environment place, where all the participants are coding a particular problem with a particular specifications. For instance, if I like to say you are given a particular problem statement and you have to code it, it's not like a project, it's like a problem statement, a particular problem statement that you are given. It's like that only. If I want to give more points, that individual short events to test coding skills. To test your coding skills, competitive programming and coding competitions are a very good place. Also, they are known as competitive programming to write a code as on individual levels at a specified limit. Like you are being given 1 hour or 2 hours to mention your code in the coding competitions. Now, why coding competitions are important? To practice on real world problems. In spite of hackathons, sometimes a student feels that I don't want to build a project, but I want to test my knowledge about a particular language. Like if I'm good at Java, I want to practice Java at a big level. So practicing Java through competitive programming, it's a very good like opportunity. Then network building. As said in hackathons also, here communities are also present in competitive programming, and you can like very well have a good number of connections to solve your problems and to interact. Then variety of problems. There are n number of problems available on these competing programming platforms. I'll mention the platform names at the end, so don't worry on that. Recruitments. Now these platforms also, as in hackathons, there are some companies that are like constantly monitoring the projects and the hackers. Here also in competitive programming, these websites are being monitored by some of the recruiters. And if they like your profile, they would be like straight away taking you to the interview level. And then best practice and tricks. Sometimes these competitive programming gives us like best practices to like code on real world problems. So these are some of the pros for a competitive programming. Now cons of a competitive programming, like I can say frustration. So at initial level, sometimes a hacker or programmer can see that these problems are like a bit difficult, and it may be like frustrating sometimes that these problems are not able to solve. But I say that don't like just go towards this frustration level. You should be very much calm, be patient, try to solve the problem. It may take initially 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, no matter what. Try to solve it. You will see that after a certain time the problems will be getting solved. Dispersive in nature, like I say, if I want to say a term in Hindi, right, raha bhatak gaye. If a problem, you would be also like believing as a student, like if you a problem is not getting solved, you must be like having a nature like make kick it over and I would like switch to any other source. Don't do that. Just go and solve it. Unable to learn some new terms like AI, ML, and all that stuff. In competitive programming, it is a general perception that you are getting stuck towards a particular language. Like if I want to do competitive programming of Java, I would be like stuck in Java field only. Or if I want to do with Python, I would be like stuck in Python only. So sometimes these competitive programming stuff like gives a certain foundation towards the fields that you want to explore. Then open source coding. Like in the previous session also, it was a very good session. I would suggest you to go and explore it. If I want to give an idea about the open source coding, you must be aware that there are two types of softwares. One are closed source softwares, and one are open source softwares. Now there are very huge variety of open source softwares that you can contribute to. Contribution, I want to like just go step behind. Open source. Open source projects are like their code are openly available on the internet on various platforms like GitHub and all other stuff in their communities also. A programmer, if he has or she has a lot of good skills towards a particular programming language and he wants to try solving real world projects, he can go into open source coding. Now, open source, some of the softwares you want to name: OBS Studio, VLC Media Player. These are some of the open source projects that you commonly use in your very like in a student life or at a like person's life also. You personally use these projects a lot. Another project you can say other than OBS and VLC, Linux, oh, sorry. Linux is also like open source. Then I want to like say about the open source. There are some these projects are under license, so you can't like just directly copy them and use it. Open source, you can say it also like gives a very boost to your CV at like initial levels. If you are practicing open source, it gives you like a hell lot of experience. Just try it. Some pros and cons of open source coding. Building real world projects. Like I mentioned, the projects that are actually existing and are being used by the community. You are actually building that project. Then equipments. These companies you are working for a company only indirectly, or I will say directly you are working for a company. After like you are being contributing to open source projects, you can like being called for an interview and you can be like directly selected. Anytime learning, you can like start the open source coding anytime if you are having the particular skills. Cons, like again, frustration can be there, difficulty at initial levels. If you are not very much skilled in a particular language, you may like feel some frustration also. If you will not be able to code, you may like get the code, like you can destroy the code that is actually existing at the initial time. So that's also like a very big con of open source. If you don't have that particular skill level, so don't go into open source, but you can try out open source. That's not an harm. Now, where to find these events like hackathons, open source events, and community events also? These events are very much easily be found on these particular sources like MLH, DevFolio, DevForce, HackerRank, HackerEarth, CodeChef, LeetCode, GitHub. You must be like aware about these particular websites if you are into these hackathons and open source coding. If you are not, just try these websites out. They are very good sources to like explore also about these events. Currently, MLH Init is going on, so if you want to like hop into that, just register on mlh.io. Now, I would like to give a light information about the communities. What are these communities? If you want to like learn, explore, and interact with other fellow mates that are your at your particular level, and or like you want to help some folks, or you want to like get help from some experienced ones, so communities play a role there. In communities you are like getting a lot of exposure to ask your doubts, to solve doubts. You can manage also manage the servers and all the other stuff. Some of the very famous communities are EquiCode, EddieHub, DevScript, Stack Overflow, Hacktoberfest, tutorial sites like you must be hearing about Geeks for Geeks or W3 schools. These also have their discussion forums or communities. Then coding websites community like Geeks, like HackerRank, HackerEarth, and LeetCode. These also have their communities. Hackathons have communities like if you are participating in a particular hackathon, they also have their communities created. Like Hackon 2.0, Hack the Mountains 2.0. These are like hackathons, and they also have their community established on like these platforms. You can say Twitch or Discord, Slack, on sometimes other platforms also, but mostly communities are being existing on Discord and Slack. Now I would like to mention some of the events, but before that, if any one of you are having any questions, please feel free to ask. I feel there is some lag in the stream, so don't worry if I would like some if there is a particular lag, so don't worry, I would be answering your question very quickly. Is anyone having any query? Okay, so I've we feel that there are no particular queries. Okay, so I would like to mention some of the particular events by Google specifically. There are like particular events, you can say GSOC, Google Hashcode, and Google Kickstart. These are three of the very pristine events by Google. Talking about GSOC, Google Summer of Code. Google working on open source, you can say open source projects. Google works on open source projects with particular partnering companies. If you want to like know more about Google open source, you can like just search GSOC on Google. It's, you can say, an easy way. You can say it's a Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is also a particular one month long event in which open source projects are being contributed, and it is being sponsored by all over the globe and multiple companies also. Google Hashcode is like a Google hackathon, hackathon organized by Google. 2 to 4 people are there in a team at a particular time, you can say. Then Google Kickstart, it's like Google's coding competition. These are some of the like names of particular events by Google. If you want to like go on the competitive, if you are like at the initial level, I would like to say, if you are at the initial level, just go towards like YouTube tutorials. There are very good number of tutorials on YouTube. Some of the channels I would like to mention is like Apni Kaksha if you want to study in Hindi, and like Code for Harry. These, or other sources, Code for Cause, you can say. These are some of the very good sources about these coding competitions. ML also, like, I would like to say that these sources are only very much like efficient for these. If you don't get these like sources in advanced Python and ML, you can always head towards the communities stuff. Communities will also like help you towards particular like advanced courses. Okay, so any one of the like query at initial level, I was being asked that what was my project in these hackathons. So I would like to mention about my projects here. Is my stream stopped? No, it's running. I feel. Is my stream running? Is the stream running? Can I get a reply? Hmm, I think there is some lag. Is my stream running? Okay, cool. I have got a reply. Okay, the stream is running. So I was like mention a question I got earlier, that what were my projects in these hackathons? Okay, so in Hackathon 2.0, I was like getting towards an idea in which there is a like COVID sourcing platform, the particular verified leads that are being carried out by people. Like we can see in the particular times that there are n number of websites, but the leads that are on these websites are not verified ones. So you can say that I prepared a verified leads platform in which with my team on which I can like enter the leads. And secondly, in the Hack the Mountains one, I didn't participate in that, but I registered due to I was like ambassador for that. There are many other projects I worked on in like initial times of COVID. I prepared a website on which there's the information about the COVID virus, the like how to get protected, what is like COVID, all the you can say the e-pass things that were available there. Another one, we also worked on a virtual school project. So there were many projects you can like say. So any other query if anyone has, you can like ask. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you all for being with us. You can connect with me on LinkedIn through the particular link. If you want, if you have any query, you can message me on LinkedIn or on Telegram. I have mentioned my email ID also with all of you. You can just drop me a mail and get your query resolved. I had also prepared a Discord community. You can just hop onto this link and can join the community there and then. So if anyone is having any other query, you can like directly message on the chat section right now. If you would be having any other personal query, you can just directly message me on the particular platforms. Okay, I have got a query. Do you think that a particular tech stack is something everybody should learn? It totally depends on your interest area. If I would like to say, if you are like towards the web, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you must be like very much aware about that. If you are like in the programming stuff, then C++ is a base. You can learn these technologies because it acts like a base for all the programmers. But it totally depends upon you. If you want to learn a, but firstly you have to decide there is a Firstly, you want to decide that a particular stream, like if you want to go in towards web or towards the ML, towards the AI, towards programming only, a particular programming. So these are particular fields. You have to decide a field, and then it depends that what particular technologies everyone should learn. Please paste the Discord link here. Okay, I will paste the Discord link here. I will like share with the Nexture Summit after like after like I will like share this Discord link. Just a moment, I will like share it. Okay, so I have shared my Discord link also on the chat. You can like go towards it and check it out. Any other queries if anyone has? At end, I would like to mention some of the points. Never fear from participating in any of the events that you come across, like hackathons, coding competitions. Sometimes it like gets you towards a particular mindset that I am not particularly skilled towards the technologies. Don't feel like that. Just hop onto the server, participate, and if you are not able to submit, no problem. At least you would be learning in that particular 36 hours or 48 hours that you would be participating in. So never ever fear from that. Don't feel that there are many other experienced people out there that are participating in the particular events. So just register and try to participate. Maybe you would be getting a prize for getting the best beginner hack. Yes, in hackathons that there are some beginner prizes also, like the best beginner hacks. There are these events like support the hacker newly you can say folks out there in their communities and their events. Okay, next to Summit, I think there is some lag and I am like finished with my content. If anyone is having any other query, you can like directly message me or I'm done. So thank you all for like being a patient listener and thank you for interacting. I call off this session. Thank you all. And do attend all the other sessions in the next summit by all other folks out there. You would be like loving these sessions. Thank you all.